wrong computer, sorry. Anyway, we'll have missed the beginning, but it doesn't matter. I'm not important. It's other people's stories that are important. But yeah, absolutely life-changing. I'm going to be 39 this October. I used to get hormonal spots all down the side of my chin. If anyone can relate, hormonal spots all down the side of my chin that used to come up, and then I used to touch them, and then I used to get spots. No hormonal spots whatsoever for 7 whole years. And that is because foundational health, when you flood your cells and when you feed your cells, that is where health comes from. You know, we just don't manage on a day-to-day basis to pack in enough of the good stuff. So life-changing for me, life-changing for mum. We'll come on to mum in a minute, but I want to get a few people on so you can hear their health journeys, right? It's really important. Us as a team, we are passionate, real girls that share something that has worked for us. So hopefully it inspires and helps someone else better their life, right? And there is never, ever, ever a day that I will never, ever recommend or take Juice Plus because it makes sense, right? And I will, in a little bit, play a very, very short 2-minute video, which will just go through the products very simply. But I want to ask Sandra, first of all. I'm going to unmute Sandra. So hi, sweetheart. You are in Bonnie, Scotland, up with your parents in lockdown. So how are you, sweetheart, first of all?
I'm good. Hi, everyone from sunny Scotland. You don't get to say that very often up here, but it's actually glorious. There is not a cloud in the sky. It's probably about 16 degrees, which is July weather for us.
Right.
So I'm in the garden. We've got the umbrella out. It's Fiona's birthday, who's my sister. So it's going to be a lovely day. So nice to see you all. I am missing Hove and some of those faces. So nice to see you all.
We're missing you too, sweetheart. So Sandra, darling, I would love you to just share so we're gonna hear from a few people, and I don't want this to be like hours and hours of calls. So just in a 5 minutes or so, it would be lovely to hear, first of all, a little bit about your health journey, which obviously I know all about. What the products of Juice Plus mean to you more than anything, mean to you and have done for you, and just a bit of inspiration and background for other people to think about futures.
Sure, not a problem. So I guess my health journey starts with an ill health story, unfortunately. So 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 41. To put some context behind that, I had been a very busy director of a recruitment company, running a business in Manchester, go, really into fitness. I used to do triathlons, long distance endurance cycling, loving life, busy, and just really, I guess, doing everything at 100 miles an hour. And that's what my mode was. So kind of overnight, on the back of a hamstring injury that I got training to do the London Marathon, I started to develop pain throughout my body. And it took a while to get a diagnosis, but in March 2018, I was diagnosed with quite severe, actually, rheumatoid arthritis. So for anyone who doesn't know that particular condition, it's an autoimmune disorder. It's where your body thinks that there is an infection, an invasion going on internally, and the fluid inside all of your joints becomes inflamed and very, very painful. So within a short space of time, I was really struggling to walk. I couldn't use my hands or shoulders, and my wrists became very painful. It went into my jaw. Anyway, it was not a real shock and a very difficult situation, compounded by the fact that I had a busy lifestyle and was used to being very active. So I made the difficult decision at the end of 2018 to give up my job and really to focus on my health, and to take a whole year out last year to become a bit of a scholar of my own body and to understand more about the disease and understand more about how to heal myself. And quite quickly, it became very apparent that gut health and diet health was so important to reducing inflammation. and systemic inflammation, which I was really struggling with. So I started to really think about how I was fueling my body, but also how I was healing my body through nutrition, not just through what the doctors were telling me, which was always about medication. And I don't want to go into all of that side of things, but that's all doctors ever really talk to you about is medication, procedures, and there's no conversation about, overall health and well-being. So how I was first introduced to Juice Plus was actually through my sister, Fiona. So Fiona had been a customer and had been taking Juice Plus for about a year. She was someone that had really struggled with things like cold sores and her skin bothered her. So Alex had introduced her to Juice Plus and she was loving the product. And when I was diagnosed, Alex had said to Fiona that this is just a no-brainer. Sandra needs to try these because it's made such a huge difference for Debbie. So Fiona actually bought me my first 4 months supply, and I took the fruit, vegetables and berry capsules. And within 3 or 4 months, whilst I was dealing with all of the kind of life adjustments and getting used to new medication, I actually felt really very well. And my hair was really strong and my nails were really strong. And whilst all this other stuff was going on and dealing with pain, I was just surprised that I actually felt good. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me that once I had done my first 4 months, I wanted to continue with that. And I have done now since February 2018, so it's 2 years. And whilst I'm on immunosuppressant therapy, that's what my treatment is for having RA. They have to dumb down my immune system to stop my body attacking itself. So I have no immune system. I'm actually one of the 1.5 million people that have to be shielded during this lockdown. So I'm in full lockdown and have been now for 8 weeks. So I don't have an immune system. But during that time, I really have barely had a sniffle, a cough, a cold. My body's actually feels strong, and I really do. I mean, there's lots of compounding factors. Taking stress out of my life has probably been a big part of that too. But I really do put a lot of that down to how I've changed my attitudes and opinions towards food, and have brought more nutrition and focus on nutrition into my daily life. So I started with the capsules, and quickly after that, Fiona was also using the Complete for smoothies. So I started vanilla is my top-notch flavor. I love that. So smoothies I've then integrated into daily life, and for about a year now I've also been taking the omega capsules. I'm 44 this year. And I was very conscious that my body's going to start going through quite a lot of changes over the next sort of 4 or 5 years. And with that, and with some of the medication that I'm taking, I was getting a bit of brain fog, doing that sort of cloudy, weird feeling that you just don't think clearly. So taking omega oils was something I wanted to do, but I really hated the taste of the sort of fishy capsules that you get from Holland and Barrett. So I was delighted that Juice Plus developed about 2-3 years ago a completely plant-based omega blend, which has not just omega-3, which is what you usually get in fish oils, but 5, 6, 7 and 9 as well. So it's the full spectrum of omegas. So yeah, I was a big fan of the products and was feeling really good, and I decided just over a year ago to join the business and to share my story and share the message, and really make this part of my new focus in life. So I've left the corporate world behind, thankfully. No offense to anybody who works in the corporate world, but I've just kind of got to a point in my life where I feel like I want to do something that has a little bit more structure, meaning and purpose, which is about health and wellness, and using my sort of story from illness to wellness as a background to that. So I guess in summary, good news is in January of this year, I had news that I'm in medical remission, which was amazing. That basically in the space of 12 months, I have moved myself from being really almost crippled with arthritis to having full use of these babies again, driving a car again after a year, even riding a horse last year, which would never have been possible. So I've managed in 12 months to move myself into a really good place health-wise. And yeah, I want to kind of take that story now and help other people do the same, particularly other people with autoimmune diseases. It's, there's a bit of a pandemic going on in the world with autoimmune, whether that be type 2 diabetes, MS, lupus, arthritis, which has so many different forms, and these conditions are really difficult and crippling. Crohn's disease as well. I've got so many friends that suffer with gut problems. So I want to really help to help other people with areas like this that they're struggling with.
Amazing.
So that's kind of a short and sweet.
Amazing. And I have seen you at your absolute lowest, and I have seen you for a whole year wearing full wrist supports on your hands and not being able to use your hands. And what is so lovely, and the big key word in amongst all of this, guys, is the word inflammation, right? If you research inflammation within our bodies is so toxic. Inflammation is what sets in, it is what can cause autoimmune. So this doesn't need to sound like, oh my God, this sounds so scary, but it is. We need to be very conscious to be doing everything we possibly can to reduce inflammation, and everything to do with reducing inflammation is about having a diet rich in colourful whole foods, which most people on a day-to-day basis just don't manage to get enough of a broad spectrum in. So that's the beauty of something like Juice Plus, or Juice Plus as a product, is it floods your body with 30 different raw whole foods which get absorbed into your blood system, and that's what runs around your body every single day, batting off inflammation, reducing it. So any autoimmune is all to do with inflammation, high levels of inflammation within your body. So Sandra, it's just such a pleasure to see you in such a different light. It's just so lovely. It's so beautiful, and I'm so thrilled for you, and your passion to help other people is extraordinary. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Can I just pick up on one point that you made there, which is really important, because before my kind of illness story kicked in, I actually thought I was a very healthy person because I was fit. I was physically fit. I did a lot of physical exercise and I was physically fit, but I wasn't healthy. And I think that's the key. I lived alone and I had a busy job. So I used to just, grab things on the go, and quite a lot of processed food, and just getting back to basics on actually, eating lovely, fresh, raw, or lovely meals, and getting back to really cooking again has been paramount to moving from to being healthy again, not just fit but healthy.
Yeah, and that is absolutely key, and it's a good point to mention, because also the toxicity and inflammation that gets built up with people over exercising. So I remember having that exact conversation with you. I was like, you're somebody that is running at 100 miles an hour, you have a stressful job, you are over exercising, you're not recovering and replenishing your body with consistency. And if you don't do that, that is when this inflammation sets in and causes these high levels of oxidative stress, which is very toxic to our bodies. So we need to be very aware of bringing down that inflammation. And so anyone that exercises loads, and exercise can be also very detrimental to one's health, and it's very important that you make sure you counterbalance that with replenishing and refueling. So the next person, thank you so much, Sandra, lovely to hear from you, sweetheart. If anything that anybody says on this call, girls, you want more information, or you want to speak to that person, or you're thinking, God, that could really help my mom, or that could really help my dad, or that could help my friend, we are all available to speak to and ask questions to, right? We are a community, and we just all share good stuff. So don't think, oh God, you haven't got enough info, right, from this. We're all here to help, so we can go back to it. So thank you so much, Sandra. The next person that I'd like to unmute is the gorgeous Susie Llewellyn. So Suze, hello, my love. How are you, Judy? Are you okay?
I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to make the point that we've got building work going on next door.
Lovely.
And there's a drill currently going. So if apologies if it sort of interferes, but hopefully not.
We can't hear anything, sweetheart.
Good.
So don't you panic, and it will be lovely to hear from you. So, Suze, pretty much in the same vein as Sandra, it would be great to know a tiny bit of your back history with your story. And Mum's just made a very good point in the chat box. If anyone's got any questions, pop them in the chat box and we'll answer them as we go, all right? So Suze is a wonderful friend of mine. She's well, anyway, I won't take your story, but if you could tell us, Suze, your health journey,
Yes.
and then your passion for health, and what Juice Plus has done for you, and please incorporate, Suze, about your family, right? Really important.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay, over to you.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I'm Suze, and I was diagnosed with MS back in July 2016, which was absolutely devastating. At that time, I had I have two children, and they were 4 and 6. I was a primary school teacher, so really, really busy life, rushing from here to there and looking after 2 young children. At that time, when I saw my consultant and he told me about the diagnosis, as Sandra said, they never actually mention anything about nutrition. It's medication. So he talked about the medication, and I had a really bad relapse. So I was feeling really, really poorly. Mentally, I was feeling, really quite bad, actually. It was a really tough time, and when I think about it now, actually it makes me feel quite emotional, because I've come such a long way since then and don't feel at all like that now. So I decided that I needed to do lots of research and look into nutrition and how I could change my diet. Just like Sandra said, I wasn't necessarily an unhealthy person, but again, I was running from place to place, probably grabbing the wrong things, not fueling myself properly, looking after 2 children, not having a lot of sleep. And I think that probably took its toll. The combination of all of those things probably sent me into where I am, where I was at that time. So I then got introduced to Alex from a really good friend, Rachel, who then talked to me about nutrition, and I'd read up a lot. So if you don't know much about MS, it is an inflammatory disease. And I only know too well what that can do to you when you're in a state of relapse. So inflammation building up in the body. I had numbness in my legs. I had what's called the MS hug, which is a really tight feeling around my back. I had to go on to high dose steroids, which may stop me from sleeping for weeks. It was not a good time. So I wanted to try and reverse that if I could, and sort of fuel my body with the right things. Now, fruits and vegetables are obviously they've got lots and lots of antioxidants. They're really good for reducing inflammation. So when Alex mentioned about the Juice Plus capsules, I thought this just is a no-brainer, basically. Flooding the system with 30 different types of fruits and vegetables in the body every single day. So that's what I did. I started to take those, and I started to feel better within a few weeks, really. I think because the important thing to know is about Juice Plus as well is we all, I'm sure, eat fruits and vegetables, but it's actual different types of fruits and vegetables that go into the capsules, because you've got the fruit, vegetable and berries. Now, for instance, in the berry capsules, there's lots. I eat berries in my smoothies, but I don't have the variety of berries, or the colourful variety. So I started taking those, started to feel much better, changed my diet, and basically I'm predominantly plant-based diet now, with some fish now and again, and I've gone dairy-free, because dairy is not great really for MS, and not good for inflammation in the body. So I've pretty much eliminated that as well. So I started to feel better. My husband started to notice that I was, feeling better in myself. I was on a recovery from a big relapse, and things were starting to change for me. So he started to take the capsules. Because we thought, if I'm taking them and I've had such good benefits from them, then it would be ideal for him. An important thing to note here is that when I started taking them, I was able to get free chewables for one of my children. So at that time, when I first started on the capsules, I split the chewables between my children, and they are fruits and vegetables, like really tasty, actually, chewable, like little gums that the children have every single day. So it made sense for my husband to go onto the capsules so that we could get free chewables for each of the children. Now, I've been on the capsules for 3.5 years, and I'd say the children have been taking their chewables and my husband taking his capsules for 3 years. And I can say that we have just noticed so many benefits. From our immune systems have been really, really strong. I mean, I've been teaching, and I finished my job in December. But since I've been and I used to get really poorly quite regularly, because obviously I was in a classroom picking up lots and lots of germs. Well, in the last 3 years, I can honestly say I think I've probably had like 1 day off of work, and that was like for a urine infection. So our immunity is really boosted. My children, when I think about the amount of colds that their friends have had throughout the winter months, and my children have been really, really healthy. So that has been a big thing. I've noticed lots of improvement. Well, my nails grow. My little boy's hair is crazy, like grows so much. And actually, when I was saying to them, my mummy's going on a call to talk about my health journey this morning, and we were talking about sort of the things that have changed for us. And he said, "Mum, my hair just grows ridiculously." And I said, "Yeah, it does. And that's been since he started taking his chewables. It's the same for my little girl Maya. Her hair has got much thicker. It's growing quickly. My husband used to suffer with gout, which basically,
I was just going to ask you to share Phil's gout story, because the gout is very key.
Oh my gosh, the gout, honestly, I think he had the gout when we first met, started in like 2003. And he would get sort of flare-ups every 3 or 4 months, and it would be really bad. It would affect his toe, and it would be like razor blades cutting through his toe, and he'd find it really difficult to walk. And they kept putting him onto medication, which would help, but it still kept repeating. Well, since he's been on the Juice Plus capsules, he's had no flare-ups, and I'm touching words right now because it's amazing. There's nothing else different. No. That he's really changed. He's not on medication. Doesn't take medication now. He stopped it because we thought, well, let's see. We'll stop the medication and see if it makes a difference. And touch wood, it's probably been nearly a year now since he's come off the medication, and he hasn't had any flare-ups, which basically says it all. And the other thing that I'd like to sort of mention is the cost of this for the premium capsules is like £2 a day. Now, I'm sure that everyone, when we're not in lockdown, goes out, buys themselves a cup of coffee and probably spends more than £2. But for us, I just think £2 a day, for me to flood my system with, all of these whole foods, and for my children to have chewables is a no-brainer for us. I've had lots of friends and family that have taken them, have had really great benefits to them. The other thing I'd just like to quickly mention, I don't want to go on too long, but we do have the complete smoothies. So that is my breakfast every single day. The plant-based vanilla protein powder with a little bit of water, a few frozen berries and some spinach, and that is my breakfast. And my husband has the same, and my daughter is quite keen on them too, so she has them as well as the omegas. So both me and my husband are both on the omegas as well. So the whole package, it's great. It's really has had so many benefits to us. I haven't had a clinical relapse since 2016. I feel better than I've ever felt before I was diagnosed, which seems a bit crazy, but I think because I've made all of these lifestyle changes, the exercise, the capsules, the smoothies, and changing the way I look at food, I think, really, and my body craves the good things. I cut out meat probably 2.5 years ago. I don't crave meat. I don't want meat anymore. And the body just craves the good things now. And I've definitely seen changes in my children as well with them wanting different things, more fruits and vegetables. And I even got my little girl eating rye bread, which I never thought would happen. So
she's brilliant.
I want that, mummy. Can I try it? And I said, oh, you can, but I'm not quite sure you're going to like it. She absolutely loves it. That's it now. She's having that for her lunch every day, toasted with some veggies and hummus and things on top. So, but no, I really would. Sorry, just the last thing I'd quite like to say is that for me, I have an MS diagnosis. You can't cure MS. I can only control it. And this, I feel, is controlling it with everything I'm doing. But what I would say for everyone else, and that's why my children have the chewables, my husband has them, and I will always recommend to friends and family, is because it's about prevention. I really feel if I had been following all of this 4 or 5 years ago, I might not be in it. I really am quite confident that I wouldn't be in the stage I am. But I am where I am. I'm doing the best. I'm coping well. I'm exercising 4 to 5 times a week and feeling really good. So yeah, I hope that's okay. Sorry, I've gone on a bit long.
No, not at all, Susan. This is what it's really important to, and all your points are just so gorgeous and so valid. And Lucy's just so thank you so much for sharing, Suze. I know, look, I'm closely connected to you. I see you. I remember the day you came and saw me for the very first time, and we talked about, and the thing is, and this will answer your question, Lucy, which is about having to cut out meat and dairy, right? This is not a diet, okay? This is not a oh, this is a cure-all. This is not oh, you just do this and nothing else around it. This is about bringing things probably just back to basics a bit, bringing back into line what we know is actually good for us, but what we don't manage to do as busy people is that we just don't manage to eat enough of the good stuff. But Lucy's just asked a question about, do we have to cut out meat and dairy?
No,
there isn't. That is not the point. Like, this is not a diet. This is about.
No, can I just say on that point, because the reason that I've cut out meat and dairy is because for MS, it's an inflammatory condition. So there's been big studies to show that high levels of dairy can cause inflammation in the body, which would then give me a relapse. So the reason why I cut out dairy is because of my MS, and that reason, as well as the meat, because with particularly red meat is inflammatory. So that was a decision of mine. My children still have meat once or twice a week, chicken, mince, and my husband still eats meat, and they have dairy, but we've reduced our intake. But I just wanted to make that clear, that was because of my MS. That's a separate thing.
Yeah, and when we're talking about high levels of inflammation within our bodies, dairy can cause high levels of inflammation. Lots of people eat dairy because they believe it's the only place they can get a good source of calcium from. But really, the best source of calcium you can get is by eating a load of really dark green vegetables, and that's what the lovely thing is that's what's also in the capsules. So, I think it's about little baby. I always say to people when I'm helping people with health, I'm like, it's little baby changes, but when you start flooding your cells daily with a ton of good stuff that's running around your blood that your body actually recognizes because it's food, this is not isolated vitamins, you naturally start craving better things. You naturally start looking at things differently because your body suddenly becomes brighter, and you start feeling those benefits. So it's about, tweaking things and changing things as you go, by implementing something really lovely as a really good foundation and base. So thank you so much for sharing, sweetheart.
Okay.
It's absolutely lovely to hear from you. The next person I'm just going to unmute is the gorgeous Kiara. Got a different story, but lovely to have you with us, sweetheart.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, darling.
Yeah, so I guess my story is a bit different. I didn't have any autoimmune issues. I had more of an unfortunate event in my life. Went through a very big grief, which I think, Alex, when you talk about stress at the very beginning, you know how oxidative stress kind of affects your body. And I was pretty sure that my body was in need of nutrition. I had a baby loss, basically. Came back from it all and had to have an operation, and all sorts of stuff was going on. And I thought, if I had to get myself through this, I'm going to have to take something to get my body going, because if my mental health was so important, but I knew that because of my mental health, my actual physical health was needing extra nutrition. And I was watching Alex from the sidelines, really, always talking about flooding your body with nutrition, and I'm always a big one for eating healthily anyway, but I just knew that I had to keep myself on top of things physically and have something going into my body. If I didn't have to think about it, I just needed to get these fruit and veg in me just so I could keep going physically. And then I for about 2 years, it's 2 years since I've joined Juice Plus, and in that time, I had that operation and was going through a very, very difficult, and still am, I guess, going through a very difficult grieving process. And in that, also wanted to have another baby. So I then got pregnant again, thankfully, and went through yet another very difficult pregnancy. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional just talking about it.
We're all here, sweetheart.
Yeah, I know, it's lovely. And this little one here, who you've probably seen on the screen, arrived 11 weeks early. So went through yet another difficult time. But thankfully, touch wood, everything's absolutely brilliant. Oh God, Alex, sorry, I didn't mean to cry on you.
Silly, you're making me cry, but don't worry. Sweetheart, we're all right here with you, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point, and we'll all be having a big virtual hug. So you just
yeah, no, it's amazing.
We're listening intently.
But I guess the one constant was, these things have kept me going in terms of my energy. I've had to keep my energy going. I've had to keep my immune system going. When you're pregnant, as many of you know, if you are mums, your immune system lowers. You need to kind of keep yourself going. Plus, with the lockdown and with Orson being premature, he is actually on the shielding list. So I need to keep him safe, and I need to keep him. He actually, touch wood, considering he was 11 weeks early, hasn't had one cold, nothing. He's on my breast milk, and I'm hoping that this is feeding my breast milk as well.
Well, it will be.
Yeah, so it's a different journey, but thankfully I've been able to maintain strong. My immune system's maintained strong. My husband has been on the capsules as well, and he had very bad rosacea, and that completely cleared up. And then he actually stopped the capsules for a while, and then his rosacea just came back. He had it on his cheeks and his nose, and I just saw it flare back up when he'd stopped, which is interesting. So the berry ones are obviously really, really good for skin. So yeah, I've got both my parents are on it as well now. They're and my dad's diabetic type 2, and his energy levels dip quite a bit in the afternoons, but he's managing to keep on top of his diabetes, thankfully. I mean, he's 73 years old, so there's only so much he can do. I think for the older crowd, it's more about prevention, really, and it's good that they're on it for their energy levels and the anti-inflammation. But for me, it was more being able to keep on top of things. And during that whole time of the grief and everything, I also started a new job, or I went back to a job that I was consulting or contracting, doing a contract job. And I just found that my focus, I was just more on it. I found that I could focus more. I didn't have that 3 o'clock slump. My energy levels were constant. And I haven't had that since doing the juicing plan, which was a completely different thing. It's where you have to starve yourself for like a week and just drink juice. So this is a bit more manageable, where you're actually eating what you like and still being able to, keep on top of things. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
Oh,
sorry about the tears.
Well, look, you are, first of all, you are so brave to share that with everybody, and everybody would have felt your, everything, and we're right here with you. But
thank you.
Kiara and I are old school friends, and that is the beauty of the world we live in now, that you can just reconnect with people, and that you can, we can share things, we can all stay locked in. And I remember, oh God, I mean, what you've been through, Kiara, is just, I'm just so delighted you've got Orson, and I'm so delighted he's so happy and he's so healthy. And the gorgeous thing, which a point you've just mentioned there, is that for any Juice Plus is a product from for everybody. It is just fruits, vegetables and berries, so it is from 0 to whatever age down here to your great granny that's 105. So the lovely, what I've always loved about Juice Plus since I've been sharing it for 7 years, is there is nothing on the product that says do not give to children and do not take whilst pregnant, and that just says it all, right? So what you're talking about, how Orson's so lovely and healthy, if he's on your breast, he is going to be feeding off what is in your system, right? So how 100%. Lovely to know that you can be passing that gift of health forward. So Kiara, sweetheart, big hug to you. Thank you so much for sharing.
No worries.
Lovely. So lovely. The point that Susie mentioned about talking about the children. So for every single Juice Plus have this amazing what is it called? Incentive? That's not the right word. Offering, and that is basically we give free nutrition to children. For every paying adult, we pay it forward and we give it free to kids. So and that is between the ages. So if you were on the capsules yourself, you would get it free for a child, and that doesn't have to be your own child. You could sponsor a friend's child. You could sponsor your niece, your nephew, your granddaughter, grandchild, whatever, anybody. It's called Healthy Starts for Families program, and between the ages of 3 and 21 years old, the product will be given with yours free to pass the gift of whole food health onto future generations, which I just think speaks volumes about what an amazing company Juice Plus is, because the whole mission statement of Juice Plus is to inspire healthy living around the world and pay it forward. So I can see on here a gorgeous client of mine, Andrea, and I'm just only, Andrea, drop me a little message in the chat box, sweetheart, if you would be happy just to share a little bit of your health testimonial. I'll quickly move on to Mum. We'll wrap this up in 10 minutes or so, girls, so if you can just hang out for 10 minutes. If Andrea is there and you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of your health journey, drop me a message in the chat box. If you don't want to, sweetheart, not a problem, right? So my gorgeous mum, the greatest inspiration to me ever. What have we got? Sandra, I gift the gummies to my goddaughter. I mean, how lovely that you can pass that on to your goddaughter. So how gorgeous. And your father, that's 84, has had the berry capsules in his smoothies every day. I mean, amazing. How lovely, 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 lovely to pass that on. So yeah, Andrea, all I was asking was if you could pop in the chat box whether you'd be happy just to share a little bit of your health story. Amazing. I'm going to quickly unmute Mum and ask Mum, just, hey Mum.
Hi, darling.
Hi, sweet. So just
2 secs. I just wanted to see. There's a question further back from Laura Everest. I don't know Laura, but I just...
Sorry, darling. Sorry. I missed it. Don't worry. I'll go back. So, Mum, if you wouldn't mind telling everybody your, in a nutshell, your health journey, what your message would be for somebody younger. Listen, what would you tell your younger self? That would be amazing.
Oh my God. I have always said, right, we are born with the most amazing tool that nature can give us, which is our body. And none of us realize how fantastic it is. Moving onwards, we have incredibly ridiculous teenage years, adult years. We don't feed ourselves properly. And I am the absolute epitome of that person. I have always lived healthily. I've always lived life at 100 miles an hour. She says, I have always been a really good cook, and I've cooked from fresh. And life was fine in the fast lane. And then suddenly, 7 years ago, 2.5 years prior to that, for about 4 years, I was managing a really award-winning pub here in West Sussex, taking the front of house and linking it with the fantastic food. And I absolutely know what I didn't do was I didn't look after myself. And this is what so many people do throughout their lives. If I could go back and put that clock back and look after myself and feed myself with the benefits that Juice Plus have given me, I would go right back to my 20s and start then, because what you do at as early as you possibly can is how it is going to impact on your health moving onwards. And for all of us, if you look at just under £3 a week, and that includes with the omegas, which I take, pounds a day, pardon, it is just so important to look after yourself. So moving back to 7 years ago, if I had listened to the doctors, they would have told me in the 18 months when literally my hands wouldn't work, my shoulder was one day bad, my knee wouldn't work. I mean, it was just an absolute nightmare. I was not used to anything like this, but I soldiered on. I have never, ever taken time off work, and I pushed on through it. But the odd doctors that I saw said, oh, repetitive strain injury, you're overdoing it, all of these sort of things. Finally, I got to see my own GP, and she looked and she said, enough. This is ridiculous. She said, I'm going to send you, I actually feel maybe if you went to see a rheumatologist, they might be able to see something. And I went in December 7 years ago and was diagnosed. Sorry?
December the 10th, because it was the day Wills was born.
The day that William was born, my grandson, and I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Now, my mother had had rheumatoid arthritis. She'd had osteoarthritis through really overdoing it physically, but in the last 10 years, 12 years of her life, she'd had rheumatoid arthritis, and I had seen the dreadful impact that had had on her health. Her hands were all crooked and she couldn't move them, she couldn't do things. And I can remember being absolutely devastated, saying to my specialist, I never want there to be a day when I can't pick this newborn grandson up out of his cot. And I knew at that point that I physically wouldn't have felt safe doing it because my hands were so all over the place. You know, I had no sort of strength. Roll on. So I took a year. Alex had done her personal training, and I got myself fit. For a year, I absolutely thought, right, okay, need to sort of improve this. Fitted boot camp in before work. Everything's sort of ticking on. And I could see my body changing, but what I was absolutely exhausted. Not only with the work that I was doing, but something within my system, and it is the inflammation of an autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis causes chronic fatigue syndrome. And I just did not dare sit down between shifts because I thought I'll fall asleep and I won't get back to work. And then we were introduced, or I was actually, Alex was away in Miami, and Rachel, who is here 2 squares below me, waving, who is a type 1 diabetic, said to me, come up to London, I'd like you to meet some people, I'd like you to listen to something. And I went, the biggest skeptic out, because I thought, I eat well, I'm a good cook, I'm healthy, I've got myself fit. But there was something within the talk that sort of was going on just between 5 of us around a table. We didn't have Zoom then, so we sort of met up. And what it was it is absolutely natural. It is whole food nutrition. It is exactly as plants, vegetables, berries and fruit, all the goodness, hydrated, the fructose gets dried off into capsules. So every day, since that point, for the last 7 years now, no, 6.5 years, I have taken my capsules. I've latterly added the omegas to it, which when you're heading for 65 in October is a benefit. And it has just done wonders for my health. My rheumatoid arthritis hasn't gone away. And in some ways, there are things that have sort of been a bit niggly, but everything's sort of moving onwards. My wrists are a bit weak now, but that's probably something that they will be able to sort out because they're going to move me, when I can get to see a specialist face to face, onto biologics too. And I know that I'm doing the best that I can to protect my body. My inflammatory markers are down, and it's just important. And even if you have a disease, even if you don't have a disease, it is vital to think for the future. Yeah. And I think, you know, that's the thing.
And I think just a little point on that, Mum, absolutely lovely share as always. I mean, you're so inspirational. And I know, you know, when it's nothing worse than seeing your mum, you know, not be able to undo her jeans, not be able to get to the loo, not be able to walk up the stairs. When you've seen someone in such a state, you know, to be able to see the change is just so absolutely remarkable. But again, Mum's immune system is absolutely shot to bits through having an autoimmune, but she doesn't get sick.
No.
Doesn't get sick. And she's always, when out of lockdown, Mum is with my niece and nephew, her grandchildren, day in, day out, kissing them, cuddling them. They are full of, you know, just school germs, and somebody with an autoimmune would pick that up really quickly, and Mum just doesn't. And it's so important that, you know, it's so lovely. And to have seen you know, yeah, you might, like you say, you've got a bit of achy wrist now. You know, you've had 7 amazing years, Mum, of amazing health, and it's not to say that things are not going to get a bit weaker, right? But when you can run the two things alongside, but that, you know, when I know that my mum was, my brother and I were literally like, she is flawed, you know, to see your mum absolutely on her knees, and then to see the difference is just so special. So I'm going to ask one last share, beautiful gang. If you've got to go, you've got to go, but I want to just, one person, thank you so much, Mum. It's absolutely lovely to have one of my gorgeous clients on here, and she's so beautifully said that she would be happy to share. So I'm just going to unmute you, Andrea, sweetheart, because your health journey and the messages you've sent me recently are just so special, and I would just,
thank you.
I would love you just to share, just in a few minutes. You know, you're a client.
I will only be a few minutes because I'm juggling homeschooling and my schooling, so I will be really quick because I wasn't expecting to speak. But in a nutshell, I turned 50 2 weeks ago, and I probably feel more healthy, more energy than I have ever felt in the whole of my life.
Oh, we've lost you. Oh, Andrea, sweetheart, if you can hear me, darling, you might be in a bit of a bad zone in your house. I don't know if you can move.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you?
Yeah, it's a bit jumpy. Oh, what a shame. Let's see. Try again, sweetheart. Try again try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I met Alex last year. I was primary school teacher, still am a primary school teacher, and I'd had a really bad back injury. I was off work. I felt really low, really miserable, really worried that I'd never get back to how I had been feeling. Although always being a busy teacher and mum, I was exhausted at the end of the day. So started taking the juice capsules. Have to say, I wouldn't go as far as saying I was cynical, but I'm like, okay, I'll give this a go and see what happens. And just so quickly felt so much better. And I think probably what it helped me do was, by taking the capsules as well, it made me think holistically about my health, and made me and encouraged me to make other changes. So we've now gone again. We were rushing, grabbing bits of food, you know, ready meals, none of those anymore, you know, all whole foods. And I think it just helped change my outlook completely. And then secondary to that, and I've got to say, I have not had one cold, one cough, one sniffle, nothing. And I'm surrounded by children all day, every day. I can get myself up at 6 o'clock in the morning and not feel exhausted. My energy levels are just so much better. And then secondly, my husband, who is chronically ill, has been retired for 20 years now, has ulcerated Crohn's colitis, one kidney, had a brain injury, really, really poorly, and really suffers really badly. And he was like, yeah, you take them, that's fine, honey, that's fine. I started taking them. I went, look, just give them a go. And he is the most, you know, he would never have believed that they could make a difference. And they absolutely have. I have to remind him to take them. But if he ever doesn't, he'll go, I'm not feeling so great. I haven't taken my capsules. Mm-hmm. That's the difference that it's made for us. So that's what I will share.
And I would also like to just say that Andrea works out, not only, she came in originally and did one of my boot camps, she now works out with me online 3 or 4 times a week. She also ran a half marathon with us, first half marathon in February. So quite frankly, and you sent me this most beautiful message a couple of weeks ago saying that you feel better than you've ever felt at 50, and your husband has just said, oh, oh my God, you just look amazing. And that just, to me, was like, oh, heaven on a stick. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
No, thank you.
Oh my God, it's not thanking me. You've done it,
but it's funny because at school, all of the girls in my team are all much younger than me. They're all like, you've got loads more energy than us, loads more.
How lovely! How absolutely lovely. So thank you so much.
I'm going to go now because I've got to cook lunch.
All right, my love. Thank you. So Laura, let me just answer these questions, sweetheart. So look, so your question is, it helps with pain. We need to catch up properly. 9 operations since Amelie has been born in 3 years, and you don't take painkillers. All I can say to you is a massive broad spectrum of colourful whole foods flooding around your blood system every single day reduces inflammation, it feeds your cells, it repairs your cells. And I can speak from experience, having had full-on spinal surgery. My surgeon said to me, what are you doing? You are repairing and recovering and on the move so much faster after this huge operation. What is it that you are doing? And all I can say is that when you flood your cells every single day, that is where you need to be feeding your body. And I would say it just makes sense, right? It just makes perfect sense that we know what we should eat on a daily basis. We know what we actually manage to do. And every single person has a very broad nutritional gap. So when you can start bridging that nutritional gap, everything in life becomes more balanced. And of course, whole foods heal the body. We can heal our body from the inside out. So I would say a great addition to have in place, especially if you're, I know that you're going in to have another operation, you want to boost your system. Everybody wants to boost their systems as best as possible. We can take our chat offline, sweetheart, and have a good old natter and a catch up, and that would be absolutely lovely. So I'm going to wrap it up, girls. I'm going to just super fast, just see if I can, just very, very quickly. I want to just share my screen with you, and I want to just play you this 2-minute video about Juice Plus. Alrighty, did everyone see that? I didn't even ask whether everyone could see that or not. So look, we'll wrap it up there. I'm hoping that you've had a good dose.
The purpose of this talk is,
hold on a
as
second.
an introduction to
something
the
going
teaching
on.
mix
Let
by
me
Jason.
just 2 secs. Sorry. Something continuing in the background. I hope you've had a good dose of inspiration. Thank you to all our amazing speakers that have shared their stories. I have recorded this, so if there's anybody that you think needs to hear this, perhaps something that somebody has said would be interesting to someone else, then please ask me for the recording and I will share it with you. Get back to the person that brought you to the call. Get back to the person that introduced you to joining us today. And you know, ask questions, be inquisitive. We have a product that is backed by, it's the #1 nutraceutical product in the world because of the body of published medical journals that doctors use to support it. You know, King's College London put their name to the product. The MD Anderson largest cancer university in the world puts their name to Juice Plus. You know, this is not, you understand what I'm saying. We're not just, you know, it's 30 years old product, so it's not suddenly appeared out of nowhere. So get back to the person that cared about you enough to invite you here, and we're all here to support each other. You know, we're a community. We help people make better lifestyle choices and baby changes to be able to look to the future and hopefully feel better on a day-to-day basis. So thanks so much to everybody for joining. I'm going to end the meeting right there. Drop anybody a message. No problem, Laura. Absolutely lovely to see you. So yeah, thank you for all joining. Lovely to see you all, and here to answer any questions, any of us. All right, so lots and lots of love, everybody, and take great care. See you all very soon. Bye.